one there. So all of you should have been given a recipe for Brownie Delight. So this is what you need to do with it.
One for everything.
Okay.
We are going to talk about Girl World and strategies to navigate it. We're both dudes, if you haven't noticed. So when we tell our wives we're coming to do this, they're like, what do you guys know about anything with women or girls? So we can't promise that you're going to get anything from this session. However, you now have a great recipe that you can take home. And if you don't get anything else, at least you have this recipe that you can try, and it wasn't a total waste of your time. So,
And you made this?
I have made it. Well, I haven't actually made it. My wife has made it. I would screw it up. So, but we want to thank you guys for coming, and we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so we both work in Naperville. What's kind of unique is I was Al's assistant principal, and then I got a principal job. So actually, his first principal job was the one that I took over. So it's kind of unique. But we had a couple years ago done a presentation. We had kind of wanted to transform like the climate of our school, and so we looked at bullying. Bullying was in the media, it was everywhere, and so we kind of targeted two audiences. So we looked at girl bullies and we looked at the boy bullies because they're two completely different things. And I think the thing that we're most uncomfortable with is probably the girl aspect of it. So a good perspective for us is that we come from two different schools. So Crone, where Al's currently at now, is both schools are in Naperville, both are in the same district. They're very different schools. So Crone has about 1,200 students, very high achieving group of students. We don't have any free reduced lunch kids, very affluent community, very involved parents. So it's actually the opposite of kind of the school that I'm at. So the school I'm at, well, it's in Naperville, it's in the same district, is very different. And it's not up there, but my school has about 830 kids. We have a very high number of students that are free and reduced lunch. We have a very diverse population. So complete, different, two totally completely different schools. What I have found though from being there is the things that we use to kind of transform that climate of our building at Crone is also worked on our kids. So regardless of free and reduced lunch, what the kids look like, what our teachers look like, our student numbers, all of these things have been successful. So I just read an article yesterday that came out from the Illinois Principals Association, and it talked about why we haven't stopped the bullying crisis. And the article goes through and it talks about different things, but basically, and this was kind of our approach, is to really address bullying, you need to address the culture. You're not really going to address bullying itself. You need to address the culture in which it takes place and hopefully then change your culture to decrease bullying. Like I said, we are not the experts on this. Our goal is to kind of share with you some of the things that we have done in our schools to help reduce bullying. And if you take something away that you can use, that would be our goal. So some of the things we're going to talk about, and the big one, if we get time, we'll talk about Pride Days. That was kind of a school-wide initiative that we did a few years ago. But the big one that we're going to probably focus on mostly is we really need to, when we talk about changing the culture, it's not just the culture of our kids, of our school, it's of our community. So how do you do that? So because we were kind of dealing with a lot of girl issues, we said, who better to help us than the moms? So we really reached out to our mom community, and we did a mother-daughter book study. So the moms read Queen Bees and Wannabes, and the girls read Please Stop Laughing at Me by Jody Blanco. And we did a big evening where we gave them all dinner. The girls went off with one group of staff, and then Mike and I took care of the moms. And what we presented to the moms, we're going to kind of present to you. But our message was this: we're more than willing to do anything we can to address any type of bullying behavior at our school. However, it is not just our job. It's your job too. And we want to work with you on this. So it was kind of an upfront, in-your-face message that, hey, we're willing to do it. We need your help. This is what you need to know about middle school girls, because they're not coming home and telling you everything. It really was a fun night, so we're going to kind of go through the presentation that we did. The slides that you saw in the beginning, that was from a documentary that we showed to all our girls and moms on a different night called Finding Kind. So if we have some time, we'll talk about that too. So,
Rose, you do this kind of stupid thing all the time. And if you're not doing something stupid, you're saying something stupid.
Burnouts, jocks, the greatest people you will ever meet, and the worst.
So you've never been to a real school before?
Shut up.
Shut up! I didn't say anything. Plastics. Who are the plastics?
They're teen royalty.
That's Karen Smith. She is one of the dumbest girls you will ever meet.
I'm kind of psychic. Really? It's like I have ESPN or something.
Gretchen Wieners.
She has 2 Fendi purses and a silver Lexus.
And evil takes a human form in Regina George. She knows everything about everyone.
That's why her hair is so big. It's full of secrets.
We want to invite you to have lunch with us. Regina seems sweet. Get in, loser. We're going shopping.
Your house is really nice.
I know, right?
Being with the plastics was like leaving the actual world and entering girl world.
Have you seen any guys that you think you're cute yet?
There's this guy in my calculus class. His name's Aaron Samuels.
No. That's Regina's ex-boyfriend. Ex-boyfriends are off limits. I mean, that's just like the rules of feminism.
Gretchen told me that you like Aaron Samuels. I could talk to him for you if you want.
Really? You would do that?
You're so hot.
Why would she do that?
She's a life ruiner. I knew how this would be settled in the animal world. But this was girl world. All the fighting had to be sneaky.
I want to lose 3 pounds.
These nutrition bars my mom uses to lose weight.
Get more clothes.
It's a 5. You could try Sears.
What are you eating in a protein bar?
What?
You make you think look crazy.
Who does she think she is? I like invented her. I'm sorry I laughed at you.
I'm sorry I called you fat.
I'm sorry that people are so jealous of me. But I can't help it that I'm popular. Talk it up! Talk it up! You know who's looking fine tonight? Seth Musikowski. He's your cousin. Why? He's a good kisser.
So the part in there that really sticks out to me is that you know how it would be handled in the animal world when they just attack each other. In girl world, it has to be sneaky, it has to be manipulative, and for us as building principals, that's probably one of the hardest things, is that it is sneaky and it is manipulative, and it's oftentimes not even done at school anymore, it's done on social media. So how do we as schools address that? So really, again, this is a presentation that we went through with the moms, and part of it is addressing the messages that we send to girls as a society, and how do we set the tone as a school for what we want our young ladies to become. The slide right before that is a site called Miss Bimbo. Miss Bimbo is a website that you can go on, and there are thousands like this. And what you do is you create a bimbo avatar, and the sluttier the better. And you earn bimbo dollars by betraying friends, backstabbing them, dating cute boys, all this stuff. And then you can spend your bimbo dollars in the bimbo world. And again, there's hundreds of thousands of girls on these sites. What message does that send? It's kind of like the video game that we saw in there, Bully. What message does that send? So how do we protect our kids from things like this? And so again, when we present this slide too, the moms' faces are like, oh my God, I have no idea. And it was new to me when I learned about it. But there's so much out there that we have to stay on top of. You want to hit this one?
Yeah, so if you look at what our kids are exposed to, think about kids growing up from elementary school all the way through high school, and this is the kind of images, the kind of messages that they're constantly exposed to. And what it does is there's natural competition between kids, and which is, I think, kind of healthy. But this social media and the things that the kids look at creates more of that competition, more of that need to be that person or to be that queen bee. So we share these with, with the parents, and it's interesting because that Miss Bimbo site before, that's actually for elementary kids. And so you think about all the messages that the kids are getting that they're bombarded with, and it has, it creates that want or that desire to be that queen bee, to be that perfect person, which in the real world is not reality.
So the challenge is, once you leave here, don't go off the shot, Mike, is it's like those hidden symbols that they put in like company logos. Like the FedEx, if you ever look between the E and the X, there's an arrow. Look for it if you've never seen it. Once you see it, you'll never unsee it. This is kind of the same thing. Since we started doing this presentation, I see bullying stuff everywhere. And I never realized how much in my face it was But the thing is, we've become so immune to it as a society that it's just, it doesn't even faze us. So when I was, working on this a while ago, and I just looked at these covers. And I was like, all right, there's a lot on there, but what really sticks out to me? And then I see up on the right, Teen Vogue, and there's a really attractive young lady there, and it says, Pretty Little Liars. Lucy Hale is TV's new Queen Bee. It's promoted, it's a positive thing, right? This J14, it's cut off a little, but the main under Selena Gomez here is bullying, backstabbing, and betrayal. It's good, it's on the cover of the magazine. And then here it's all about smooches and scandals and who's deceiving who and boy drama and so on. And again, these are the magazines we buy for our kids. And oftentimes we don't really even look at what's on the cover. We look at the title and that's it. So one of the challenges I have for you for the next week, look at everything through a girl bullying lens and see what you see. And I think you will be surprised and probably almost a little shocked, like, oh my gosh, like it's like, but once you see it, you're not going to be able to unsee it. And it's no wonder that our girls treat each other this way.
It's called they call it the consumer paradox. It's where you buy things, that you buy it because of advertisement reasons, but then it's kind of an opposing view for you. So parents, when we show this to them, they're, oh my gosh, this is horrible, this is horrible, this is horrible, I can't believe all of this. But then you can see some of the parents' Facebooks or some of the things that they promote or the shows that they talk about or that they watch with their kids. It has, that negative effect on our kids.
And we challenge the parents. We say, what I just told you, look for this for the next week and see what sticks out to you. Because again, it's changing that culture. It's changing how we do business as a school, as parents, as a community. And so when we talk about, also one of the things is what do we say to our girls when they're getting ready for their dance, or when we take them dance shopping, or when we talk about boys, or what messages do we send? Now this is one that we showed to both the moms, go to the Safe Share one, moms and the girls. And some of you have probably seen this one, but it's just amazing, again, the message we send to our girls. Dove, the soap company, they do a lot to address the positive image that girls have, but one of the things that we see that girls fight about, or that at least create drama about, is who's wearing what, who looks like what, who's got prettier hair, who's wearing the UGG boots versus the other brand, off-brand, all those things. And we talk about how that is not a realistic image. Like, you're all good how you are. Like, why are we fighting about this? And even if you watch the movie Mean Girls, there's a part where they're all in Regina George's bedroom, and they're all in the mirror, and they're all nitpicking different parts of themselves that they hate. One says she's got I forget exactly, a big forehead, and the other one says her hairline's horrible, and the other one doesn't like her nose, and it's, we show that clip to girls to say even the girls that are viewed as the popular pretty girls don't like themselves. Like, why do you not like yourselves? And so that's a conversation that we have. So like I said, we differentiate this presentation that we did with the moms versus the one we did with the young ladies. But the overall goal with the ladies was to see that, like who you are, and that's okay, who you are, regardless of what it is. And then we really brought girls together within that setting to talk about why are we mean to each other, and to really break through that, to really analyze our culture from a female girl perspective. And they really do. They walk out of there just they look happy, you know, and there's girls that never really communicated that did. And there are girls, a lot of the girls that showed up initially were girls that had been made fun of, right? Isn't that how it always works? The people don't need the conversation, always have to come and listen to it. We want some of the other kids to come. And then we did it another time and they did, and it was really positive. So Mike's gonna introduce, these are the roles in Girl World.
So the book Queen Bees and Wannabes goes through a description of each person and each role they play. And so once our parents were familiar with that, and once we read that, this was something extremely powerful to talk with the groups of girls about. One thing I always had to be careful of is that, is it a good thing to bring the bully and the victim in together? Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it could backfire, but it kind of depends on the message and the kids, I guess, that you're dealing with. So what I would do with some of the groups of the girls is I would pull them in and I would explain what I'm going to explain to you now about the different players that are in this group, and I would have them decide who does what. And they're not necessarily super positive things, but it really lets kids kind of see all of the people. So we have the Queen Bee, and this is kind of who everybody wants to be. This is the most popular. Her friends do what she wants to do. She's not intimidated by other girls in class. She hangs out with the group. She's always the center of attention. So this is kind of who everybody wants to be. This is who the media says to our young ladies that this is what you should be. So the Queen Bee is really kind of at the top of that. And if you go into any lunchroom, you sit at any table, whether it's the group of the kids that everyone says, oh, these are the popular kids, or it's the kids who are at any other table, these positions still exist amongst all groups of kids.
And the funny thing is, the Queen Bee, she doesn't make herself the Queen Bee. Like, you can't just walk in and be like, I'm the Queen Bee. And so we talk about the girls like, why are these kids popular? Why is there a Queen Bee? Who makes her the Queen Bee? If you look at the Mean Girls movie, everybody hates Regina George, yet she's the Queen Bee. So how does that happen? And so we talk through that with the kids of why do we put labels like that on people? Why do we look up to, why do we treat people like that? Give them that power and then hate them at the same time. So again, as we go through these, if you're a teacher or a school person, think about, shut your eyes and envision your school and try to start to see who these kids are in your own buildings.
The sidekick is kind of like the next runner-up. So this person is second in command. It's the girl who's closest to the Queen Bee, have her back no matter what, because her power depends on the confidence she gets from the Queen Bee. So there's a Queen Bee who's in the spotlight, but then there's a little sidekick that's also there as well. This always makes me think of A Christmas Story, and you look at the big bully and then his little toady sidekick. But of course, this is girls. The Queen Bee is your daughter's authority figure, not you. So this is who they look up to, whether it's good, whether it's bad. That's who they look up to. It's we tell our moms, it's not you. And you can have a great relationship with your kid, but when they come here to school, they're looking up to this, to this child.
So a lot of the moms started, as we went through this, started to kind of look at their girls' groups of friends and started to try to pick out some of these. And we did focus on that you're the mom, that's right, and your daughter's in middle school, which is, we know, a challenging time for all kids. But it's very important to know who your kids' friends are, because especially if your daughter's the sidekick, like I said, they're going to take their messages, their ideas, their motivation, their everything is coming from the Queen Bee. And as much as, we tell moms, you gotta open up your eyes to this, and you gotta know what's going on.
And that's a position that girls like, is to be the sidekick. But what's interesting is when the dynamics change and that Queen Bee finds another sidekick. And then that person's jealous of that sidekick is, and sometimes it turns into revenge or whatever else. And it's not that the girls are out beating each other up. They're then getting a whole new group of girls to go against that one person. So it's interesting to see the dynamics as they change. And in middle school is a perfect place to see that, because you see them from 6th grade until 8th grade, and you can see things happen so much faster. The banker, you want to explain this one, Al?
Yeah, the banker is the one that we really like, and that's the one that we probably spend most of our time with, or at least that's the one we want to try to nail. because the banker is the one that stirs everybody up. She's the one that is always manipulating, always playing each other off of each other, storing information. You know, it says the queen bee is actually very frightened of the banker because the banker has info on the queen bee that she could cash in at any time. And so when you think about your pot stirrers, or the one that's always just with the group but always never seems to like get in trouble, it's everyone else, or her name always comes up when there's drama, chances are you're dealing with the banker. And you know, one of the moms, when we were doing this, said, "Oh my God, my daughter's the banker." And so it was good because then, you know, we said, okay, well, you, and we didn't say, yeah, you're absolutely right. We said, okay, so what do you do as a parent about that? And that's not something that, you know, we can give it. I don't know what you do as a parent about that, but just acknowledging it and having those conversations with your daughter is a first start. You know, it's a good step.
A lot of times these will be the kids too that will come in and report something to us, so they'll say, well, here's what's going on with this and that, and then when we start looking at their social media accounts, they're the ones that have all that great information that they share with other people. When I was in, you know, middle school, like I might write a note to someone I don't like, and then it's just me and that one person that really share that note together. Now when you share a message, there's 420 of your best friends that are getting that. So the impact it has on a school is so different. Something can happen on Vine or on one of those social media sites, and the next day you know when you walk into the building that that climate's different because there's 400 kids that know about it. So our bankers now use that technology to store all of that. When Snapchat comes out or there's a little argument of some sort, they'll do the screenshots and they'll hold on to that and save it for a good time to use it.
So the messenger is also highly connected to the banker because oftentimes the banker wants to keep that position of power and knows that getting too actively involved in that could get her in trouble, which is why the banker usually has a messenger who does a lot of the dirty work via social media nowadays. So that if you see the two that are always whispering off in the corner, or again, the messenger is the one that's delivering a lot of the messages, or you know, making the phone calls. Oh, did you hear what so-and-so said to you? Or texting, so-and-so said this. Did you hear about this? Or, oh, she said this. And so again, but a lot of that information will come from the banker to the messenger, and then it ends up with a lot of work for us and someone with her teams.
With the messengers, when we've called them, and they're the ones who will really, you know, they'll give you all the information that you need. What's interesting is if you have a string of their text messages or social media, and the parents, I mean, sometimes they just show up in our mailbox, and it's just for us to know about, you know, but we look at it, and you can line it up, and you can see those kids talking out of both sides of their mouth. And so that's a problem. I mean, the messenger is wanting to move up and wanting to be in the know about everything, and hopefully, you know, one day get a job as a banker.
What we started doing with the banker and the messenger girls is, and it's a little risky. I mean, sometimes it doesn't go well for us when we do this, but again, for us, it's building that culture of what we call the Crone way, or now the Hill way, is we bring the parents in with those girls and we say, this is all the tech stuff, this is what we got, these are all the pictures that we have, you know, we've tried to address it here, we're at a loss, help us out. And oftentimes what you'll find out is there's some level of involvement at the adult level that isn't always positive. Sometimes the girls are taking their cues from mom, but sometimes when we've done it, it's been very powerful too. Ultimately what it does though, is when they go back home, they say, man, they don't deal with that stuff at that school. Like, they called us in. It's uncomfortable for a parent to have to sit with us to look at things that are usually not very school appropriate said online about other girls. And so if anything, it just sets the tone. It builds the culture, which again is what our goal is, to change that culture of what we will accept and not accept.
I had a girl that was dealing with a lot of bullying issues, a lot of self-esteem issues, and her mom was very vigilant about bringing that to our attention, which was good. So we investigated it. We kind of found like an ally group for her. But what was interesting is that then the other parent printed out her Facebook page and brought it into me. And so you can see where I'm looking at, I spend most of my time dealing with this middle school girl drama stuff, and it was the same exact thing, but it was between the parents. So when I talked, with those parents, eventually I brought them in and I brought their husbands in, just for a little bit of backup for me. But it was interesting because the same message that I'm telling these kids, I'm telling these moms as well. And those same roles, exact roles that we find in our kids are in those parent groups as well.
At the same time that we did this, we started a program. It's not anything that we started. We actually borrowed a program. It's called Watchdogs. It's very popular in a lot of the elementary schools. It stands for Dads of Great Students. And what Watchdogs is you invite dads into your school, and there's a bunch of different ways. We kind of took the program and made it our own and tweaked it. But now we have had, over the past 2 years, we're going on our 3rd year, right, Mike? Over 300 dads come and spend the day at the school. Now, middle school kids, right? Like, Dad, do not come to my school. And so we often promote it with the moms who sign the husbands up, which works out great. But what we have seen is, over the past 2 years, a bigger shift in our culture and in our climate, just having those dads in there. And when I tell people, yeah, we've had over 300 dads come and spend the day at the middle school, they're like, seriously? And we're like, yeah. And again, it's building that community. It's not just the moms that we need to know what our expectations are, what is the Crone way. The dads need to know what is the Crone way, but they also need to be part of that. So it's been great for us in just furthering this, because oftentimes now when we call a parent, most of our dads, we've had a good percentage of them come through. If we have to call on something, they're like, I remember hearing about that when I was at your school, or someone talked about that. And again, it builds that culture and that collaboration that we want with our parent community. The pleaser, the wannabe, this is the one that's always kind of in the background, trying to stay just with the group. They're probably not as popular, but they'll do anything for the group. They're oftentimes the ones that can get sucked into doing the really stupid stuff just so they can stay associated. And we all know, even my boys who are 8th and 6th graders, and we just moved from a new school to another school, so they're the new kids. Their want to fit in is huge. And that's a huge need for middle school kids, and if they're not finding it, they'll do whatever they can to stay fitting in if they do find it. So you really have to be careful and know who your pleasers and wannabes are and watch them. And several moms said, my daughter is the wannabe, and I know it, and I know that she's trying so hard to stay with this group, and I'm seeing them starting to split, and you can see just the fear in that own parents, like, oh my God, what if they drop my kid and she's not gonna have friends, or they're gonna start, and so it's working with the parents, like Alan talked in the big presentation, providing that hope that, hey, we're here with you, we're gonna do that, we're gonna take care of it, but again, it's up to culture. The bystander, this is usually the one that wants to do something, and probably secretly sometimes might come to us, or might go to a teacher, or just put something out there that lets people know, hey, this might be happening, or this is going on. And sometimes she doesn't do anything, she's the peacemaker, doesn't like the girls to fight, and it's usually someone that's probably got a good head on his or her shoulders, but because we do see some of these groups with boys too, actually. So on this next one, one more, Mike. The target, obviously, we all know who that is, right? That's the one that the girls pick within their group that they're going to isolate, be mean to, not let them sit at their lunch table. I hate girl sleepovers, man. Whenever I hear that there's a sleepover on Friday, I'm like, oh man, what's going to happen? Because one girl, the target, will usually not be invited, or during the sleepover she might get invited and then something mean happens or something gets put on social media. And so we all kind of know who the target is. And we're going to have my phone more. The champion, obviously we all hope our kid's the champion, right? That's the one that stands up and doesn't let it happen. The champion, I guess if we use a common language from this morning, would be the hope provider. That kid that, we want to be nice and isn't just with one clique, with a lot of kids, a lot of friends, you know, and again. So we're going to show you a video, and what we want you to do, you won't see all of the different roles, but some of them really stick out to you. We want you to try to guess, based on the video, who's the queen bee, who's the sidekick, who's the banker, who's the torn bystander, and so on. Scroll a little bit.
Our keynote speaker talked about like having a group to belong with and having like kind of those allies. So if you look through the description of that, the people who have the least amount of power are the ones that have no one else, that have no other allies. So one thing that has been helpful for us is with these kids that don't have anybody is to associate them with a group. Find a group so that way they have a place to belong to. And the more people they have in that group and the more belonging that they feel, the stronger that person is.
Okay, so you're going to test your knowledge of girl world. Here we go.
Oh my God. No, go back. She looks like a beached whale. Who do you think even took that? Probably her boyfriend. That's nasty. I don't know why he puts up with that. He puts up with that because that puts out. Oh, wait. Want to see something even better? Hold on. What are you doing now? No way. I think Megan's new friend update. Ooh, I think she needs new friends too. Dude, what are you looking at? Megan's Facebook. Yeah. Check this out. We found Megan's camera in the locker room, and it has like all these crazy pictures of her on it. She looks like she's drunk or passed out or something. She looks like a skank. Oh, and get this. She told me her password. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take all these pictures and post them. Yeah, and we're gonna invite like the entire school. Her life will be over. Can we go back to that?
So it's also a video that we shared with the parents and had the same thing. Can you pick out the different groups? And then also with the girls. And again, when we talk about changing that culture, you know, back in the day, when we had a sleepover, like our goal was like if we could sneak out, that would be fun. And we usually got busted. Nowadays, there's no need to sneak out because everything's done virtual, you know, online. And so we asked the moms, how many of you have had girls sleep over at your house? And they all raised their hands. And we said, how many times do you actually check on them to see what they're doing? Maybe once, just to bring them food down in the basement or whatever it is. And we say, how many of you collect all their devices at a certain time of the night when you know you're probably not going to check on them anymore? None of them. And again, as we talk about being responsible digital citizens and responsible digital parents, we told the parents that most of the stuff happens online at a sleepover and you have no idea any of it's taking place. So we talk about that culture that if you're a grown parent and you have a sleepover, and yeah, we're regulating sleepovers, that it's our expectation, if you're being responsible as a parent, that you collect all the devices before you know you're not going to check on the kids anymore. And you make it a point to check on them several times during the sleepover. Now again, some parents will roll their eyes and think, whatever. And that's fine. We can't make parents do that, but what we know as building administrators is that makes an impact. It sets the tone as a parent of what your expectations are, and it's like being in the hallway at a passing period. That eliminates 90% of the problems, right? If you're just supervising a little better, you can be proactive and save a lot of pain and heartache and all that other stuff. So what roles did you see in that video? Who'd you see? Shout it out. Don't be shy.
The target was Megan.
Yeah, the girl who had the picture. That was easy. That was a good one. You're smart. Go first. Yeah.
The queen bee was the girl with the red hair that was kind of shorter.
Yeah, she definitely seemed to be running the show.
The torn bystander was the girl who came in.
Right. And for some reason, like, I'm thinking that that's that girl's house. I don't know why, but I felt like when she walked out, I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, I felt like she was like talking to her mom or something. I just make this up in my head. I don't know if it's true. But that's where I come up with, and when I did this to the parents, I kind of, made it up like, what if mom was checking in on them? Or what if, what if mom had already gone to bed and this is what they're doing, So it's a good example, and it's good for the kids too, because when we show the kids, we say, well, which one are you? And we say, don't answer, but think about it. And it gets the kids thinking. And again, we tell the kids too, like they know, and we know now, just because it doesn't happen at school, it oftentimes gets brought in there. We'll skip some, or you're going to talk about this a little bit, Mike.
Yeah, what's interesting is, we did this presentation maybe like 4 years ago, but every time we give a presentation, we talk about the social media stuff, it changes. So as soon as we're able to, prevent something from happening and we learn this, the kids move on to something else. So when it first started, people had MySpace and they had this and, they would, post pictures of people and whatever. Well, people would print that out and then, those kids would bring it in and say, look at this is what's going on online. So then they developed something that comes out where it posts a picture, like Snapchat or something, that only stays for 3 seconds and then it disappears. So the social media will change so that way it's harder, to catch these kids. And I don't know if it's about being able to catch them as it is about being able to find a group for everybody and have, people genuinely, respecting each other. But the social media will change consistently. One thing we ran into a couple years ago is a Safe app. Who's heard of one of those before? There were some pictures that we uncovered that were posted at a sleepover again, which was interesting, and that was one of those parents that nothing would ever happen in her house, nothing at all. So we went to a Safe app a kid had told us about, and what it is it's a calculator, and it's a really real functioning calculator, but you type in those 4 numbers, and that's your vault for all the pictures that you don't want anybody else to see. And you look at our, the banker, the people with all that information, you can take screenshots of all of that and you can keep it in that Safe app until you need to use it. Parents don't even know that that exists. So it used to be, easy where a resource officer would take the phone and we would look through it and we'd find those pictures. Then technology changes to make it harder for us to do that. So each year that we, every time we do this presentation, things change. So what I do is I talk to my kids, and I know who my queen bees are, and I know who my bankers are, and I'll bring them in, and they're used to coming into my office anyways, not always to be in trouble. And I'm like, so what is the new social media? What's going on? It's just amazing the stuff that they tell me. And I talk about Facebook, and they're like, you are so old, Mr. YouTube. Because that's, they're on to something new. It's so much faster.
Check that Safe app. If you don't take anything else besides the recipe, the Safe app is huge. There's some that look like calculators and some that actually are called like a safe. And kids hide this. They hide this stuff they don't want you to see in there. So check that out. We're going to skip around. Don't worry about that video, Mike. This thing I passed out, Girl to Girl. This is something that I did actually at Mike's school when I was principal there a long time ago. Back in, I think, 2004. We were having a lot of girl drama. And so we got together with all of the female staff members and all of the 8th grade girls. And we started a program called Girl to Girl. Now, I basically was involved in the planning of it, and that was all they let me be. From that point on, it was all the female teachers and all the 8th grade students, girl students. The very last page and a half, you can see kind of our agenda and kind of topics that we were going to cover. We met every Tuesday and Thursday for 2 to 3 weeks, and it was really kind of targeted. We broke the girls up. We did kind of an initial presentation. They talked about just a lot of things girl-related. It did make a big difference for a large part of that year when we did this. But again, it's the one thing we've realized is that you continually have to change what you're doing and keep bringing new ideas. And the biggest thing that we have found to be the most successful is sometimes it's nerve-wracking to invite the parents in and just have them so heavily involved in what you're doing. But that's part of the culture change that has to happen because we now have very little drama with the girls. It does happen, but typically when it does happen, the parents call us now and say, hey, can we come in and meet with you and the other so we can get this all straightened out? Whereas in the past it was drawn out, parents fighting, kids fighting. verbally. And now our culture has changed for the parents and the kids to know that, hey, we can talk this through, we can figure out, and we can move on. And we continue to do stuff. The last thing I want to show you real quick, 'cause I know our time's running out, is we did another girl mom thing called Finding Time. And it was it's a documentary, and we did this where we had a movie night, invited all the girls and the moms, no boys allowed except for us. And I just want to show you the clip of it because this was really powerful too.
There's a universal truth shared by all females. A truth which has been swept under the rug for generations.
We're shooting a documentary about females and how vicious we can be to each other. What?
There's a problem if you guys want to play.
That's a great thing.
Between girls, it is like a ancient Roman war or something. On a good day, they're all really cute and drawing hearts all over each other's papers and stuff. On a bad day, it's a bloodbath.
But what's really going on in Girl World? I'm Lauren, and that's Molly. On September 1st, 2009, we packed a minivan with our cameras and our mothers and embarked on an over 10,000-mile-long journey across the country with the hope of establishing a national school program for girls. America!
Don't you ever wanna come out and play in the snow?
Raise your hand if you've ever been negatively affected by something that another girl has said or done to you.
Yes. And it's really hard to imagine girls in elementary school having such hatred inside of them.
I was really scared to walk from one class to the other without being pushed into a locker, coming home with a black eye, because I didn't know what they were going to do.
How many of you guys have daughters?
3.
And have you all seen this sort of like vicious behavior between you?
Oh yeah, mine will go to Fifth City over a pretzel.
Yeah. But I resent the school system, I guess. Maybe it's not just local. It's a bigger picture than that because they don't have anything in place that I can find.
I still even today, I never really told anyone how much there.
I think I've been one of the best friends that I can be to anybody, and I just love to have a friend like that for me.
Even if they're not nice to you, it's that feeling of you don't know their story, so don't assume that you know their story.
He said, I wish I was dead, Mom. She was 9.
There's one thing we can all be. We may not all be beautiful. We may not all be smart. We may not all be talented. But we can all be kind.
So the year we did this, we had a big Kind campaign. And again, we invited all the moms, all the daughters. We had over 600 parents and kids attend. We showed the documentary. We had discussion groups. Kids could fill out a kind card, a kind pledge, or a kind apology. And kids actually, I was kind of like, oh, they won't do that. They did. And that night it was just kind of amazing to see different girls that we knew had been not friends or were friends at elementary school and had drifted apart. And I kept several copies of the kind cards. Just to I continue to reread them every once in a while just to see the impact that had. So this was a good film. These two girls will actually come and present to your school. We didn't have them come. We just showed the documentary. But if you're interested in another strategy, something you could do, this one was pretty good. So I know our time is about done. So we want to thank you guys for attending. We'll be here if you have any questions. Otherwise, we hope it was helpful. Enjoy the brownie. Thank you.